Hey guys, Drifter here. In today's Black Ops Cold War Alpha video, I want to talk about the Scorestreaks system and offer some alpha observations in general because I think chopper gunners like this one are just way too easy to get. Before I get too far into the video, I want to let you know that I'm live on Twitch streaming right now to test out my new PC and new controller and various things, but I wanted to do a quick dual sponsor in the beginning of this video to thank the companies that helped get me back live after I had major tech problems with my computer and broke my Astro C40 TR controller yesterday, which is why there's not like 4 videos today. So let's do that and then we'll get back to the video. I wanted to give a shout out to a local Dallas-based company called Battle Beaver Customs. When I accidentally broke my Astro C40 today, they hooked me up with a brand new Astro C40 in less than an hour. Since they're based in Dallas, I just got to come pick it up for free. This is theirs. It's a $200 controller they gave me for nothing because they do a lot of community-based work. Now, I am sponsored by Astro to promote their C40, and this is the controller that I game on, that I got all the gameplay you saw today. It's got the paddles in the back. It's basically like Astro's version of a Scuff and my favorite controller, which you can get down there in the description below. There's a 5% off link that you can click and get one of these if you want. But what Battle Beaver does, at least in the Astro controller market, is they sell extra sticks. Now, one of the few flaws with the Astro C40 is people tend to wear out the sticks quickly, and the sticks have some interesting clickability and sensitivity issues. So they make custom stick modules that you can put in to alleviate those issues, or if Astro's out of stock because the virus totally destroyed all of our supply lines, well, then they have a whole bunch extra. So you can check them out. They're linked down there below as well. Let's get back to the rest of the video. All right, back to the main video. I do not like the new Scorestreaks system, at least so far, because it's too easy. I didn't earn any of the big score streaks during the reveal stream because I was playing against pros. When you look at the other team and it's like Teep and Scump and Mud Dog and Nick Merckx, you're gonna have a rough game. These people aren't gonna let you go on 20 kill streaks. They're not gonna let you cap objectives easily. They're not bots. So I was probably the bot compared to them. However, in public lobbies, I can get a chopper gunner every time if I want to. It's really not very hard. Maybe not on like TDM, but pretty much any mode that has a lot of respawns and an objective like combined arms or domination, the chopper gunner's coming, and it is very easy to get. You don't have to go on big streaks. You don't have to capture that many objectives. It's not that hard to do, in my opinion. So a lot of you would say, well, Drifter, what's not to love? I mean, you're getting free chopper gunners. You're getting the biggest streak in the game. You can show off every game if you want to. And the problem with it is that it won't be long before everybody is doing this. It won't be very long before everybody catches on, and it'll be just like the matches that I played with the pros, where the end of the game is just an endless chopper gunner loop, and it's going to be chopper gunners all the way down, or maybe I'll be the man in space looking at the earth and it's a chopper gunner and the guy's about to shoot me saying it was a chopper gunner the whole time. Like, it's going to be nothing but big streaks, because the more I play with this, the more I realize the streak system is more support streaks than it is anything else, or support streaks with a cooldown timer on them. And as I've played, I learned that you get multipliers only for your kill streaks and not for OBJs. I thought it gave you a general point multiplier to where if you were on a big streak and you captured an objective that you would get more points for that, but that does not seem to be the case. It seems to be that you get the multipliers only on the points earned for your kills and not for capturing objectives, which is kind of weird because I thought the whole point was to incentivize objective play, but what this does is incentivizes just killing people instead of killing flags and risking you losing your streak, because capturing a flag just isn't worth as much as your next kill. Your next kill is likely worth 2 or 3 times what the flag is, with significantly less risk. So as I played, the more I realized that I didn't really need to bother with flags, and I don't think that this type of system is going to solve the problem we had in the community of people not playing the objective. As a matter of fact, it's going to be just like Modern Warfare 19, where people will mostly slay out and try to rack up their streaks and occasionally capture an objective to just add on a few extra points. And yeah, my opinion is that they're just too easy to earn. They're not even hard. I didn't have to go on that big of a streak to get my chopper gunners. And the thing about this is I'm not even good at Call of Duty, okay? I'm no Nick Merckx, I'm no Scump, I'm no any of these awesome people that you know of. Even though I might be playing this game for 10 years, I've analyzed that it's kind of my full-time job, I'm still not a good player. That's just a fact of life that I have to realize, that I have to deal with. On my good days, I'm average or a little bit better than average, and this gameplay that you're seeing right here might look good, but to me, I can see myself struggling to aim because this is my first time using a controller since March. It's been roughly 6 months since I have touched a controller at all. These are my first games back, and I can pick it up and still come back and earn a chopper gunner, not because I'm good, but because it's easy. I earned the top streak enough to where I'm thinking that today on stream, I'm probably not even going to go for choppers anymore because I don't know, I want to do something different. And this problem gets way worse for lower streaks because the gap between the attack chopper and the chopper gunner is roughly double. I want to say the attack chopper is like 3,700 and the chopper gunner is like 6,000. So it's a little bit more than half the cost. So there's a giant gap. If I just wanted to call in attack choppers and air patrols and war machines and stuff, I could do that all game long and probably loop them. Now, I know that the game is an alpha, and I realize that right now I am participating in the Call of Duty community's infamous toxicity of hating everything new. I'm literally being a boomer or a male Karen, at least in some people's perspective, but I try not to hate things because they're new. I kind of don't like this one because it's just too easy, and while it's kind of fun for me to earn streaks for a little bit, when I do it all the time, it's boring, and I think in the future, people are going to figure this out. They're just going to hose us with freaking chopper gunners at the end. So when Treyarch said alpha, they really meant alpha. Now that's something I have to clarify after I've criticized them, is that this isn't really a beta. So the beta that comes out is usually a pretty well-polished marketing tool that's very representative of the final game. This one is a lot more alpha than what gamers typically get their hands on, and given how close it is to the beta and some other things, I have a feeling that what this is a sort of last-minute stress test, or testing some other kind of system that they have going on to see how it works before they roll out with the full beta. But yeah, the alpha's in rough condition. There are graphical problems, there's animation problems, there's balance problems, there's connection problems. We're going to talk about a lot of those today. But the point is, there are problems right now. And I think that the Call of Duty community is seeing this as a good representative final version of the game, which is why PR and developers tend not to release alphas, because they'll get in the gamer's head that this is what the final game will be like, when the final game will be better than this. And for example, I don't know if you remember the Blackout Alpha or the Blackout Beta when it first came out. Treyarch literally had Minecraft trees, like little 2D sprites just in the background for trees, and it was butt ugly. Played great, but ugly, and it got much better as they managed to polish it and learn more about the engine and continue. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen with Black Ops Cold War as it progresses, and especially as we head toward next gen. But the point is, this is a lot more alpha and truly a lot more unpolished than what we normally get our hands on. Some general observations about this alpha include the fact that the graphics are not amazing, and I don't mean aesthetics, I don't mean colors, and I don't mean just like the animations, and it's not Modern Warfare 2019 like all the neckbeards on Reddit, but truly the graphics themselves, not amazing. Not even on the PS4 Pro. I've heard it's even worse on the PS4 original. To me, they look kind of fuzzy. Everything in the background looks a little bit blurred, a little bit kind of hazy. I don't know quite how to describe it, but I find myself struggling to see people, whereas I didn't struggle on PC. And the motion blur resets itself and turns itself on every game because it's not saving my settings, which is annoying. It doesn't hurt anything, but it's a little bit annoying. I think when you guys watch this, you're going to see this problem magnified because of my computer issues, I accidentally recorded the video in the X264 codec instead of the H264 codec, which is the one that it defaulted to is just a little bit fuzzier, so it'll probably look like a more extreme version of that. But to me, it feels almost like we don't have much anti-aliasing going on. Or there's also the possibility that my perspective is warped coming in from a couple of months of 1440p PC gaming with like anti-aliasing jacked all the way up and really crisp images. Maybe this is what consoles always feel like and I've just lost that perspective. I still think the colors and aesthetics look great. I think the maps look great. I think the art style is great. But the actual graphics here are not keeping up with the aesthetics that are being presented, and that's kind of disappointing. Though I imagine PS5 and PC are going to look much better, and this should get somewhat better, at least on old PS4s, as we get closer to the final build of the game. The next thing I noticed is that there are a lot of odd things going on with stick sensitivities and dead zones. The dead zone in Black Ops Cold War, at least subjectively, feels on the bigger side of things, bigger than I was kind of expecting. And I can notice it even with my limited console experience lately. Hopefully it's not my PC bias coming in and warping me, but it just didn't feel quite the way I remembered gaming on console. This can be mitigated by third-party controllers like the Astro C40 TR. You can change your stick sensitivities and dead zones, and I think that the Xbox One Elite and the Xbox One in general has settings for this, but by default, which is what 99% of gamers are going to use, has pretty big dead zones, which it makes the aiming slightly uncomfortable. On top of that, the sticky aim is kind of strong, but doesn't always seem to want to make up its mind. There are some gunfights where I feel like I'm fighting the aim assist and trying to force it to get on target and hit enemies, and other gunfights where it's doing almost all of the work for me, occasionally tracking enemies through walls and old bugs like that. It's kind of hard to put all of this in words, but it just feels kind of off. Something isn't really right about what's going on with the aim assist, and because of the dead zone, I found that micro adjustments are very hard to make. I had a very hard time making micro adjustments in the aim. I just kind of struggled with it, and it felt odd, and I thought I was just being like a PC Master Race loser here, and then I saw some people complaining about similar things on Reddit, and I was like, thank God I've been validated. That's what Reddit's for. It'll validate all of your opinions, political or otherwise. The next thing I wanted to talk about is that the input delay feels a little bit weird too. Maybe this is another PC to console thing, but I really swear I'm feeling some slight input delay on my shooting and aiming and moving and stuff. It's very minor, but it's something about it just tickles my jellies and says it's not right. And more importantly than that, because that's subjective, I'm fairly confident there's some kind of delay in my bullets registering in some matches. The connection quality has been very inconsistent, to say the least. When the connection's good, the game runs fine, I like it, it all seems fair. Then there are other matches where things are just kind of weird, but I don't know, maybe I'm being paranoid, but I swear that some guns are registering their shots slower or faster than others, in a way that kind of reminds me of when Exclusive Ace tested out the barrels on the Growl in Warzone. You know, we put on the Archangel barrel and the bullets were actually traveling so much slower, they were registering and hitting like 4 frames behind the regular barrel bullets, and it felt kind of like that problem. I felt kind of like when I was using SMGs, they hit and slapped and registered pretty much immediately, but some of the assault rifles and other weapons, it felt like the bullets took longer to travel or took longer to hit. Something noticeable, but it was kind of backwards. You'd think the SMGs would take longer to hit, but it was the rifles, and I think that's kind of why I preferred SMGs over rifles overall. It was just a very weird feeling thing. And then finally, I wish that bouncing Bettys were taken out of the specialist system. I think that what they're doing with it is they're putting them in the specialist system to limit the amount of Bettys and limit the amount of camping on the map, instead of having Bettys or Claymores as a plantable grenade. Now, this system of having them in specialist and having them more limited is way better than having them planted on the ground all the time, so that's an improvement. I don't know how to include them without totally getting, I would love to get rid of them, but I understand why they have to be in the game. But it's just a little bit weird that all of the specialist stuff is non-lethal, but the Bettys are lethal. It feels kind of like a bad mix there, and they're just a little bit annoying, though they do pop kind of slowly. I don't know what we're gonna have to fish this one out. We're gonna have to wait. Maybe I'm just being a boomer again, would just rather have no Bettys at all. So yeah, that's my observations of the first couple hours of the Black Ops Cold War beta, at least what I was able to play before all of my stuff kind of caught on fire. And the end of this video is going to end with a short recap of what's going on and why I'm not posting content, and a little life lesson. I have computer gremlins. I don't think that I have tech problems in my life as much as I have invisible demonic gremlins that like to jump up and down on my motherboard, just like the ones from the 1983 movie of the same name. Because throughout my entire life, I'm always the guy who gets the error that can't be Googled, that nobody's ever heard of, that doesn't make any sense, that should be impossible. And that's pretty much what happened yesterday. I had issues, like an absurd amount of issues with my computer. Just, I set up everything, I tested it, I ran it through stress test, I made sure everything was good to go. Then it's time to boot up the beta, all of a sudden a power supply problem. Then we got a GPU problem, then we got a CPU problem, fix all that stuff. Now my capture card won't work, now my controller broke, my second controller broke, had to fix that. Now we have audio problems, and I spent 12 hours yesterday doing tech support for a computer that was running perfectly just moments before, and it's kind of frustrating, but that's the story of my life. The moment I touch something, I always break it. I used to get in trouble for this so much as a kid because my parents would tell me to do something with the computer or something technical, and I would say I'm afraid to, and they would say just go do it. So I'd like walk up and hit the on button and it would break, and then I would just be grounded. So it was just lovely. So it felt very bad, it was very frustrating, but being mad, being frustrated, and being salty doesn't help fix the problem. I talked about it a lot on Twitter. Twitter's kind of like preventing. Twitter's kind of a nonsense social media platform, but being mad about it doesn't fix the problem. I'd had a lot of good days before, a lot of huge successes here on the channel, a lot of good days in my life, some things going well for me personally, my back's getting better, things like that. And it only makes sense that I should have some bad days, that I should have some challenging days, that life isn't going to be, easy street. There's always going to be something coming in to throw you for a loop. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's how everything is supposed to balance out. So some days you just got to take a deep breath, put on your sweatbands, and be willing to work on the problem, because no matter what you have planned, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you think you're going to do, life just has other plans for you, and it's going to hammer you and hit you with all sorts of weird things. And the real measure of a person isn't necessarily how good they are, but how well they deal with a crisis. It's who they are when the chips are down. It's who they are when they're challenged and struggled. That's really where you measure somebody. And yesterday I was the guy who vented on Twitter and spent 12 hours doing tech support, but it was necessary. Now it's fixed and good to go. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something about that. And hopefully I'll be making some more videos on the alpha this weekend now that all my stuff is working. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe, and check out Astro and Battle Beaver. Drifter out.